Hi there folks, how are you doing? I'm kind of back with the Master System today for another video, although the only thing I want to look at in this video are the controllers. So I did get a controller with the system and it's missing a bit, as you can see, and it's disgustingly dirty. This is the Sega control stick for the Master System, although I didn't get this with the Master System. This actually turned up when I bought my Mega Drive. And if you've seen my Mega Drive videos, the first one particularly, you'll know what sort of a disgusting state that was actually in. And this controller's no different. In fact, it's actually a little bit sticky. It's revolting. So it's had something leaking on it, I think, or the last person to use it really enjoyed the game and a bit too much. I honestly don't know. I don't want to know. All I want to do is clean these up and repair this controller. So what we're going to do is we're going to start tearing these down. For the control pad, I do have a replacement part. So I have a replacement D-pad. Let's bring that in. And it's something I bought on eBay. It's a 3D printed part. So it's a brand new replacement. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's get into it. Let's start with the broken controller, can we? I mean, you can actually see all the dirt actually on it. It's revolting. My own dirt I can handle, but other people's, well, not so much. Let's buzz all the screws out. And hopefully that'll separate. Yep. Okay, so there's the back piece. Oh, there's bits of plastic falling out of it, which I presume that's from the previous D-pad where it's broken up. So they need to go. And let's take the innards out. So let's make a mental note of how that runs. So we're looping around here and out. So that's the strain relief. So I need to make sure when it goes back in the same way. Let's see if we can lift that out. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So what have we got? We've got the carbon backed rubber contacts for the switches themselves. And the two carbon contacts for the buttons, and then presumably the buttons will just push out. Yeah. Cool. That wasn't difficult. Okay, it's made a mess of my desk, but everything I do seems to make a mess of my desk, and I'm kind of getting used to it now. What I will do is, in fact, you know what? Let's trial fit the new piece before we do anything. So I assume, if I can not drop it, yeah, it just sits in like that. So that is a nice quality replacement part. That'll do just nicely. Okay. So in theory, all I do is I put that back in, screw the case back together, and we're done. But I think what I'd like to do is give everything a bit of a clean, because there is just this fine layer of dirt on everything at the moment and it's revolting. So I'm going to do that next. So looking at the contacts on the board, they're looking pretty dull and pretty grim. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give them a little splash of IPA. And I've got an old toothbrush, and I'm just going to very gently remove the dirt, just so we get a better contact. Shouldn't take much. I don't need to scrub hard. Just want to take that layer of filth off. And that looks like a bit of corrosion on one of the buttons actually. We'll see if it shifts. Yeah, fingers crossed that's okay. Lovely. I'll do the same for the little rubber mats with carbon back. Very gently. I just want to get the dirt off it. as you may or may not know, when it comes to cleaning parts, it's an absolute pet hate of mine. I can't stand doing it, so I like to cheat wherever I can. And while a controller doesn't take a lot of cleaning, I happen to have an ultrasonic cleaner, so I'm going to take full advantage of it. And I'm just going to put the case parts in. And we'll put the buttons in as well. If they'll sync. No. And we're just going to run that through a few cycles. This shouldn't take too long to do. In fact, I can already see dirt starting to float off it. This really does give it a very, very thorough clean without the need for faffing around with a toothbrush. So, as one controller dries, let's take the other one apart. Now this one, it does seem to work fine. It's just revolting. The top part, this seems to swivel. I'm going to assume that is correct and it is meant to do that. I don't know. Anyway, I don't like touching this thing, so let's get it clean as quickly as possible. So what have we got? 2 screws there, and I can't see any others, but they might be under the rubber feet. I don't know. Let's just take those 2 out and see what comes apart. No, that's not moving, so I think I need to get behind these feet. Let's have a look. Alright, let's see what moves. We're in. So what have we got? 4 screws for the stick and 2 screws for the buttons. Let's take those out. Okay. This is a very similar setup to the NES Advantage controller that I worked on a few weeks ago. So I need to separate this top piece to get the shaft out, and there's a screw right in the middle, so let's undo that. There we go. So that separates. That separates. We've got a spring. Let's get the buttons out. Okay, and presumably I can just push these buttons through. Yep. There. Let's see what we've got. So that can go for a wash. So can the buttons. That's pretty grim. That can be cleaned. What have we got here? Does this dismantle any further, or do I just clean it as it is? I think we clean it as it is. I'll just put that in the ultrasonic. So for the buttons, we've just got these typical carbon backed contacts, and the same for the direction control, but they're underneath this panel. So there's a couple of springy clips. If I can encourage that to let go. There we go. Gently does it. And then those carbon pads can come out as well. Right. All things that can now be cleaned. Actually, I've just found another screw in the top of the controller handle underneath the label, so let's take that out. There we go. So we can separate it further. Ah, that should make cleaning it just that little bit easier. Okay, what can I get in here? I mean, these parts are just way too big, so I'm going to have to wash those manually. And nuts, okay. But if I take the basket out, can I get more in there? There's still muck in there from the last controller I cleaned. That'll go. That'll go. The buttons will fit. Top of the controller will fit. Can I be sneaky and get this in as well? Yes. Okay, let's give that a couple of cycles and see what muck floats out. In fact, I can already see dirt flowing out of it. I think we've cooked. I think that'll do. So they can all come out and go and be dried. Yeah, that water's starting to look a bit like soup in places now, but that's okay. It just means that the ultrasonic has done its job. Yeah, these are all coming out nice and clean. It's not too bad in there actually, there's a few bits floating about. Yeah, okay, I'm going to rinse these parts off and let them dry. Let's do the same again with the contacts as we did with the controller. Let's give it a little clean. These are pretty good. These are pretty clean actually. They're a lot better than the controller was. But you know what? While it's apart, I think we can start putting this back together. So, everything's dry. Let's start with the buttons. I don't think it matters which way they go. Nope, they look fine. We've got our new 3D printed part, so that can just drop in. Like that. Okay, now we need the board. No, we don't. We need these parts. So they will presumably locate in like that. This piece, which I assume just goes like that. I can't see any other way for it to go. That's fine. Right, let's get the contacts back in, shall we? Like that. And do you remember how this strain relief went? Because I don't. Figure it out in a minute. Yeah, that seems right. Now, strain relief. Yes, it goes up underneath there, I believe. Let's take this out. There we go. Yes, that looks right. That does not look right. Did that push under there? I think it did. Something like that. Do you know, I could just look at the old footage and get the answer, but I'm far too lazy for that. So let's put it together and just make sure that's okay. Case goes okay. It all feels fine. So let's put some screws in it. I know I say this all the time, but we are just screwing into plastic, so there's no need to wrench down on the screws. the only thing that's going to happen is you'll break something. So just nip them tight, and that's really all you need to do. Okay, that's together. It feels correct. We'll see. So last but not least, let's get the cable cleaned because it's grungy. And the best way I find of doing that is by using actual baby wipes. They seem really good at clearing the dirt off without doing any sort of damage to the plastic. So yeah, it's feeling rough. So it's just going to take a little bit of time. Try not to smash the controller I've just fixed while we're at it. Okay, that's a little grim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this for a little bit, and I'm not going to stop until the cloth stays clean. So I'll bring you back when that's done. Okay, let's get this bad boy back together. All the parts seem to have dried up quite nicely, so let's begin reassembly. So let's start with the control stick. I don't think it matters which way this goes. Oh yes, it does. There's a little tab right there, so it probably wouldn't fit the other way. Yeah, it does matter. That's fine. So that had a screw in the centre, so let's put that back in. Lovely. And there was a sticker that went over the top. I'll put that on last actually, once I've orientated it correctly. Now, we've got our circuit board. Oh, the whole cable wants to come with it. Hang on. And we had our little directional controller buttons, the little cover for it. So, in there we need to put 4 plungers. And then the board needs to go right onto that, so that way I believe, and it should just click in. Perfect. Control stick went through that shaft, which needs to go in a very specific orientation by the looks of things, like that. Let's put the screw in for that. Okay, now I can put the sticker on. Now I know which way it's going. Perfect. And that's back as it should be. Now I can screw the contacts back in, but do you know what, before I do, I'm just going to apply the tiniest amount of silicone just to stop any wear, just on there. Perfect. Now this will screw back in, or it should do. I believe it would go that way. looks right. Next we should be able to get the buttons in, but we need to actually put the plastic buttons themselves in first. So that's one. There's the other one. Contacts. And there we go. Now, as I'm about to screw this down, did you spot the, I'm not going to say deliberate mistake because it wasn't, because I'm an idiot. I completely forgot to put the spring in, so I'm going to have to come back and do that. But that's the sort of idiot I am. Right, that's fine. Let's get this in place first. Okay, right. Strain relief. Put the bottom on and we're done. So I'll screw this back together and then we'll give it a test, I suppose. Yep. Oh, and of course I'll clean the cable in the same way I did for the other one. Yep, we're all cleaned, it's all back together, and there's only one more thing to do, and that's give it a go, I suppose. So I'll start with the control pad, which was untested. I've no idea if it worked at all, so if it doesn't work, I'm going to cry, not my fault. But let's give it a go, I'm sure it'll be fine. See what we've got. Seems fine. I do love these controllers, they feel so good to use. Yep. Right, so I've got the control stick connected, and this did work before I took it apart, although it was just disgustingly dirty, so if it doesn't work now, it would be my fault. We'll see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're fine. I've got to admit, I can't get used to having the buttons on the other side of the controller though. It's just kind of feels wrong. Just, I can never get used to these things. Ah, you see, I keep pressing the wrong button. Yeah. No, I don't particularly enjoy using these things, but it's fine, it's working, so no complaints. So it was worth doing. I'm not picking on Sega here when I say I don't like the control stick. I don't like using the NES Advantage either, I find it just awkward. I'd rather have a proper controller in my hand. And the Master System controller in particular is absolutely superb in my opinion. But yeah, these all seem fine. So what I'm probably going to do now is I'm going to plug in the original controller and I'm going to carry on playing this game because it's brilliant. So what I will do is say, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.